Hey, how's it going? Oliver Carlin here. So, today I just want to welcome you here to this live webinar. Today, I want to talk to you about a medical study that was done, like a decade-long medical study, and it identified the source of the obesity epidemic in the nation. And basically, I'm going to show you how you can lose weight by attacking the source that was identified there. And the cool thing is, it doesn't involve you having to restrict the food you love or ever even having to step foot into a gym. Okay, it's really pretty interesting. So, does that sound cool? I mean, does that sound like something you'd be interested in? Okay, great. So, let's go ahead and get into that. So, but before we do, I just want to tell you um, this is a no sell video. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm just here to provide you with some valuable information that you can take into your life and implement right now. And then the second thing I want to say is I got a special free gift that I'm giving away, a free book, and I'm giving away at the end of the presentation. So if you stick around to the end, you'll get the free book. Okay, there'll be a link you can click, and it'll be you just cover like the shipping. That's it. All right. So, see, before we go into the content, I just want to cover a couple things. So, this probably isn't the first training you've ever been on about weight loss, right? And I just want to say that, if you've tried other things before and everything and didn't work out, it's not your fault. Okay. There's a lot of information out there on weight loss. It's very confusing. There's so many different aspects of weight loss that people are trying to hit on. I mean, you've got things like eating, restricting big portions of food from your diet, going on calorie deficits, going to the gym all the time, eating a special fruit, taking a special pill, all these things saying different things. You can do this, you can't do that, and then what's right and what's wrong. So don't worry about that. If you've tried before and it hasn't worked out, I just want you to know that you can put those fears at rest. That if you think you can't have success, you can put those fears at rest because you just haven't found the right person that can explain it to you in the right way for you. Okay. Now, because of those companies doing all those things, if you had the suspicion that maybe thought they didn't want you to succeed or whatever, then you were probably right. Okay, because those strategies were never meant to be long-term strategies. Okay, they were just meant to get you to some form of success fast, and then you get all the way back. So they get their success story, but then you keep coming back for more, right? There's no real money in them helping you to lose the weight forever, right? They need you to keep using their product. So the goal of this webinar, right, is you have a dream, and your dream is to be healthy, to lose weight, to feel good about the way you look, to be, overall just lose the body fat, right? And by the end of this video, I want you to be able to see how you can do that right away. Okay. Now, this video is for two types of people. The first type of person is the person that's maybe they're very experienced in weight loss. They've done this before. They know how to do nutrition. They know how to do exercise. They've got this, right? And that's fine because this information you can still implement right into what you're already doing. And it's just going to like boost up what you're already doing. And it'll also serve as like a safety net. So that way, if you ever fall off doing the other stuff, this will always keep you up, keep your body weight off forever. And then the second type of person is the person that's brand new at weight loss, doesn't know anything about it, know nothing about nutrition, exercise, and maybe they don't want to know, which is fine. You don't need to, because with this, you'll have everything you need to start losing weight and keeping it off right away. All right. And so that's pretty much everything that I needed to tell you. So are you excited? Are you excited to learn about this? I know I am. I'm excited to tell you because it's really interesting. Okay. So before we do anything else, let me just jump into a little bit about me so you can figure out who I am. Now, when we do this, I have to share my screen. So bear with me here for just a moment. Shouldn't take a second. There we go. Got it. Give me 1 second here. Okay. So, my name is Aller Carlin. I've been in the Navy for about 18 years. And over the past 6 years, I really got into fitness and I became a fitness leader for the Navy. I got certified to do that and started teaching other people how to lose weight, keep it off through fitness, and people who were struggling and stuff like that. And then to help them stay in the Navy. And then about 3 years after that, I got into the nutrition side. I got certified to be a ship shape facilitator. And during that time, I really was really cool because I got to split up the fitness and the nutrition. Because before that, in the fitness side, I could only focus on fitness. I wasn't allowed to talk about nutrition, but now I can talk about both. So that was really awesome. And I got to help a lot more people be able to keep the weight off. And I was able to learn and teach the stuff that I'm going to tell you right today. And you'll be able to implement too. And it's the same information I implement in my life every day. Okay. So, so I was stationed in Guam, this little island out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, right there by the Philippines. It's kind of like Hawaii, a little poor man's Hawaii is what we call it. And it's like Hawaii, but it's cheaper and not a lot of traffic there. So I was stationed there, and at the time, I was overweight. I had just gotten to a point where I'd gained about 30 pounds of body fat, and it didn't happen by accident. I was trying to build muscle, and at the books and everything I was reading was telling me in order to build the muscle, I needed to bulk up, and to bulk up meant I had to take in all these extra calories. Well, the problem was I was also not working out correctly. So I wasn't really building muscle. What I was doing was I was just putting on body fat. So all these extra calories were just getting packed onto my butt and my stomach and my hips. And this happened for months and months. And I was about 195 pounds, and normally I sit at about 165. And so anyway, I was going through this, and I I remember there was a change. I wasn't used to feeling this way. I was always kind of a lean person, but having this extra body fat, I remember um, people started treating me a little different. I kept getting these comments like, man, you're getting big. And at the time, I thought, oh, yeah, I'm getting big, cool. I'm trying to build muscle. For some reason, it was hard for me to understand that I was putting on body fat at this time. But I was getting these comments, and then one time, this person came up to me when I was leading the fitness class, and he started rubbing me on the stomach, and he said, "Oh, hey, you got a nice big beer belly going on." And I was like, beer belly. And I kind of laughed it off because it's like a joke. But afterwards I was really bothered by that. It really irritated me. I was thinking, man, I don't like these comments. I really don't. I mean, I get it. I'm putting on body fat. I understand, but man, I do not like the way people are talking to me. And so anyway, this kind of went on, and then finally um, other things started happening too. But the I remember this one time I was in an interview for Cellular Quarter Board, and the morning of, I was trying on these dress right white pants, right, and I couldn't get them past my hips because I didn't try them on in a couple months, and they wouldn't fit up over my hips. I had to really squeeze them on, and they were like skin tight. I showed up for the interview, and I was so embarrassed to walk in there with these dress pants like that. And I finished the interview, and then afterwards I got counseled for like 5 minutes about how inappropriate it was to wear pants that are that tight and blah blah. And I was so embarrassed, and I felt bad. I mean, at the time, again, I was still thinking, oh, I put on all this muscle. They're tight because of muscle, and it was not muscle. It was body fat, and it was weird, but it was embarrassing. And then finally, kind of like the turning point for me, um, was when I was getting the PRT test was coming up, and I was time for me to actually weigh in for the PRT test. So I go into the room, and up to this point, I had always stepped on the scale and signed the paper and walked out because I was within my BMI range. Well, this time I stepped on the scale. It was over my BMI, and so I had to go to the second phase, which is where they wrap this tape around your stomach and your neck. They measure your body fat, and they call it the rope and choke. And So they did this to me, and I remember I was like, I really sucked in my stomach, really in as much. Tried to suck in, and then when they did my neck, I like flexed my neck out, doing everything I could, right? And I did all this, and I was like, I'm gonna be like 11% body fat. And then they came back, and it was 15% body fat, 15%. And that was with me sucking in. I was like, holy mackerel! I went home, I did the math because I knew the how the formulas worked, and I realized that the I had put on a ton of body fat. Like before I stuck, because I tracked where I was before and where I was now, and I was like, if they're right, I've put on like 30 pounds of body fat, and that started scaring me because I was like, well, if I put on that much body fat, where's the muscle? I mean, there's no room for muscle if I got that much body fat. So I was kind of worried at this point, and so anyway, that was kind of how I got to where I was. And another another issue I was having was I was developing a lot of medical issues, and again, I didn't realize they were related to the body fat. I just thought I was getting old or something like that. And like biggest one for me was heartburn. I developed a serious case of heartburn. I was every time I ate, it felt like liquid lava right here, and it was horrible. It burned for like 30 minutes. I even got prescribed medicine, Nexium, and that even developed even other health issues because of the medicine itself. And not only that, I was developing lower back pain, I think because the proportion of my stomach sticking out and my butt sticking out the other way, I think was throwing my back out of alignment or something, because I'd wake up with lower back pain. My knees, I felt extra pressure on my knees from all the extra body weight from I'd still run and stuff. So anyway, there was a lot of things going on. I felt embarrassed. I didn't like the way I looked. I'm constantly sucking in my stomach every time someone walks by, and the biggest thing was I could not stand like my shirt, the lower portion of my shirt sticking out. Man, I hated that the most, and I wanted to have a flat stomach. I wanted to feel good about the way I look. I wanted to have a good looking body. I wanted to have all these things. The whole reason I did this, I wanted to walk into a room and have people impressed by the way I look. And it was the exact opposite of what was happening to me. And so that was pretty much where I was at. And it was a pretty low point for me, because another problem was I'd put on all this body fat and I'd wasted all this time that I was trying to build muscle, and I was actually putting on body fat. So yeah, it was very disappointing time for me at that point. And at the same around the same time, I was still a fitness leader and I was helping people. And as you can see, I obviously didn't know as much as I thought I did. But so I remember one of the programs available to my guys was the ship shape course. And they I had no clue, because as a CFL in the Navy, a fitness leader, I was fitness, right? Workout, exercise, stuff like that. But the nutrition, there was always two aspects. There was fitness, and then there was nutrition and exercise. I couldn't touch nutrition. It was always you bet it was this big no thing in the Navy. You cannot talk about nutrition because you're not certified. And so what you did for the nutrition side to help them was you had to refer them to one of four things. It was either like a dietary nutrition, self-directed commercial program, or ship shape course. And well, the ship shape course was the only one I was like, what is that? I know what the other three are, but I have no clue what ship shape is. I knew nothing of it. I asked other people, they didn't know what it was. I was like, what the heck is this? I knew the hospital offered it. So I said, you know what? I'm going to enroll in this program, and I'm going to do it for my guys, because I need to be able to tell them what these things are, right? What these options are to help them. And heck, maybe I might learn something myself along the way, right? And I remember, so the hospital was the one that was actually putting this on. So we figured out, we got a hold of it. A couple of my buddies and my trainers with me actually attended it with me. But that was the hospital. There's brand new hospital up on a hill in Guam, overlooking the ocean. It was one of the most beautiful views. I mean, man, that was a great hospital, a brand new hospital. And my wife actually delivered in that hospital for my son Arthur, and our room overlooked the ocean. I mean, it was like a penthouse suite for Labor and delivery room is awesome. But anyway, when we went to the ship shape course here, we got in. I remember I was a little nervous because I was thinking, man, you know, I don't. There's this bad stigma. For some reason, there's a stigma around when you show up to something like a weight loss course, because it's like you're saying that you have a problem. It's like the first step in AA, right? You admit you have a problem, and it was embarrassing. Like I felt embarrassed almost to walk into the class. I felt like I almost needed to justify and tell everyone, "Hey, I'm not really fat. I'm not really here for me. I'm just here to help people." It was a weird feeling that was going through my mind. I didn't want people to think that I should be there. And another thing is, I wasn't super overweight, so I didn't want people to think, like, why is he here? He's not really big like us. Why is he even in this room? So, luckily, none of those problems ended up being. It was all in my mind. None of that ever really applied in reality. The class went great. We never had any issues, and I ended up learning a ton of information from this class. So, I'm now the very first part of the class, right, was Mr. Martinez, was the instructor, and great guy, great listener. Every time he asked a question, man, he listened like nobody else. Not only he didn't just listen to what the words you're saying, he listened to your emotions behind the words, and he acknowledged your emotions. Like he would say, that sounds very stressful. And so it's just it made you want to talk more to him. Like, oh my God, I love this guy. Right. Anyway, the very first part of the class, he was talking about the source of the obesity epidemic. And I don't remember, it was somewhere around the beginning, right? And he was talking about a seminar that he had attended where a Dr. Blair was the one speaking at the seminar. And he was a leading researcher in fitness and nutrition. And really just, it seems like his goal with his everything he's done in his career has been to identify the cause of the obesity epidemic in the nation. And and the interesting thing was when he opened the seminar and he said, "Look, we just finished a decade-long study on the cause of obesity in the nation, and the results were shocking. The results were nothing. The results were not what we had initially expected, all of us going in." And just to give you here's a quick video of Dr. Blair. We'll just watch like the first 25 seconds of it, just to give you an idea here of what he does, if it plays. Here we go.
Most of the focus in the popular media and in the scientific press is, oh, they're eating too much, eating too much, eating too much, blaming fast food, blaming sugary drinks, and so on. And there's really virtually no compelling evidence that that, in fact, is the cause. Those of us interested in science, public health, medicine, we have to learn how to get the right information out there.
That was it. So when you listen to Dr. Blair speak there, um, when you listen to him speak on that interview, it was, just like you said, we all think we know what the problem is. We all think people are sitting around eating these unhealthy foods, and that's why we're all fat. I'm sure we all think that. But like you said, there's no compelling evidence to substantiate those thoughts. They're just what we think. So is it really truth or not? Right. And that's what his study and his research is all about. So this is I'm just going to go into basically a little bit of a training here on what was the way the his studies were conducted, and a real brief overview of how the results were discovered. Okay, so when did the world start having an obesity problem? Right, I like this picture, right? All of a sudden at the end we're fat, right? So let's see. So here's a little chart. Now, this chart's very important to understand. The big thing is I want you to see is down here at the bottom is the dates, right? So the 1960s, and then right about here, right, is where the big obesity epidemic started. So we're looking right around the 1980s, right? Around that time. So it looked like about 1980 something had happened in America because this skyrocketed, right? That's almost a 45-degree angle on that line. And so what took place in the 1980s to make that spike happen? So right around here in the 1950s, this was fast food, right? Because in the 1955 is when McDonald's first was established. So that was 25 years before 1980. So if the fast food industry would have been the cause of the obesity epidemic, we would have seen a spike from here. The charts would have started here. But they didn't, right? They didn't start here. They started over here. So the interesting thing was in the 1980s was the personal computer. The personal computer was first at the market in the 1980s. And that's immediately after the personal computer hits the market is when the charts skyrocket, right? So what was it specifically about about what was it specifically about this personal computer that causes this spike, right? So if we look at what they determined was over time, what had happened was there was this 100 to 200 a day decrease in the calories that you were burning throughout the day. So you may think, oh, 1 to 200, that's not much. Well, it's not much until you look at it over a week and then over a month. And those numbers on the screen may mean nothing to you. You're like, well, what is 5,600? What does 1,400 calories mean? Well, if you look at a pound of fat, in 1 pound of fat, there's 3,500 calories that make up that pound of fat, right? So if we know this, if we know 3,500 calories is 1 pound of fat, then we know, well, then in 5,600 calories a month would be 1.6 pounds of fat a month. That'd be 10 pounds of fat in 6 months, and it'd be 19 pounds of fat in a year. So when you look at it like that and you say, oh crap, well, that's a lot over a year. Exactly. Because the thing is, when it comes to obesity, it didn't happen overnight. None of us just, oh, personal computer came out and then the next day we were 50 pounds overweight. No, it was a gradual thing that almost happened behind the scenes so secretively that you didn't notice. If it was almost like, imagine when you put the story of when you put the frog into the hot water, the boiling pot of water, he jumps right out. But if you put him into a cold pot of water and turn up the heat, then he'll end up dying in the water because he'll never notice the change in the temperature. And that's kind of the same thing that happened with the obesity that you're experiencing, right? Is it happens so slowly, and then by the time you noticed you were so far overweight, you're like, holy crap, what happened, right? So that's pretty much the cause of it. Now I got another quick video here that I think is very interesting to watch, that kind of illustrates what I'm talking about here.
Over to the driving range and hit a few virtual balls in space.
Now, we did that yesterday. I don't want to do that.
Well, then what do you want to do?
I don't know. Something.
Wow.
Make a play scream.
Jealous because it doesn't sound
Look, I'm tired of
so
it.
what's Alex making on this?
If you can't fool the strong, the episode ain't any good.
Hot over here. Whoa.
Hello? Tunnel. I'm in a tunnel. I can't hear you.
By and large, everything you need to be happy is very important to us.
Hey, drink the butt. Here, take the cup. Hey, take the cup.
Please remain stationary. A service bot will be here to assist you momentarily.
Stewards? Hello?
Please remain stationary. A service bot will be here to assist you momentarily.
What's that? What's going on? John?
Eva?
No. John.
Eva?
Hi, Wally.
A is for Axiom, your home sweet home. B is for by and large, your very best friend.
Time for lunch. In a cup. Feel beautiful.
Oh, stunning.
I know, honey. Men. Attention, Axiom shoppers. Try blue. It's the new red. Ooh.
Date? Oh, don't get me started on the date. Every holiday I have been on has been a virtual disaster. It was one here wasn't so superficial. But people there are good men out there. Well, I know because I've scored them up. What the? Huh? Wally. Mary? Eva. Huh? Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So that was from the movie Wally, right? Um, Now the reason I wanted you to see that is because I feel like that is a perfect example of where the world's going with weight loss. Because if we remember the first slide where there was that timeline, right, of the people and then the fat guy at the end, that was like dystopia to me. And basically in that movie you could see technology removed everything that would ever involve them to do any type of physical movement in that movie. They didn't have to do, right? So there was no movement. That was like taken to an extreme, but is it really extreme? I mean, when I watch that, I don't see it being too extreme because I see that's exactly what people want technology to do for them. It's like the least that we have to do, the better it is. That's just the way we think. It's interesting. So anyway, so let's move into a different timeline here. And this one is regards to exercise. So this is the evolution of exercise, if you will. Now, at the very beginning of the exercise, you see we got the guy working in plowing the fields, right? And it kind of evolved over time. But the first time physical education was ever promoted for weight control wasn't until the 1900s, 1902. And then the first bodybuilding magazine was in 1935. The first actual gym for people to go to, this gymnasium here was for like training for like the Olympics or something. The first YMCA wasn't around till 1951, but even then it wasn't this big spread thing. Not until about the 2000s is when we had the major launch in the commercial fitness programs. We had gyms, all tons of commercial programs. But the very first fitness program was Jazzercise, and that was in 1970. Now, the reason I want you to see this is because I want you to understand that exercise is a new idea. Okay, it was never something that was ever had to be thought of before in the history of human beings. We never had to think about how are we going to exercise to lose weight. This is a completely new idea. So I think it's important you see that, because a lot of us, we don't realize that. We're used to seeing the gyms and we just think that that's the way life is, but that's a very new way. We're talking just in the last like 50 years. Okay. Basically, since computers came about is when we've had to actually start thinking about weight control and movement. Okay. Now, um, so let's take a look at something. So, what I want you to understand, one of the key concepts that I had learned in the Ship Shape program was was that you don't need to exercise, that you only need to do physical activity. So get rid of the word exercise and use physical activity. Does that make sense? You need to think about doing physical activity instead of exercise. Okay, and then let me explain that. So take a 175-pound person. If they walk a mile, they burn 93 calories. If they run a mile, they burn 131 calories. So what does that mean? Walking is a lot less strenuous than running. Running is pretty strenuous. So my first impression is, well, running would be more difficult, right? You're using more muscles, you're sweating and stuff like that. I mean, would you agree? That seems to be the reason why that we're running. Let's find out. So Mr. Martinez did a study when he was going through college, and the study was on why that exact question is. So what he found was he was sitting around thinking about it, and he's seen some people running. He's seen this girl, and you see this girl on the screen here. She's running, and you see how her hair is bobbing up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Well, he noticed that, and then when he seen that same person walking, he noticed there was not that bounce wasn't there. And so then he took a second thing and he imagined that she had a little red dot on the tip of her nose, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And he turned off all the lights in the room. And what kind of line would that make? So that was this line here, this squiggly line, right? That's the kind of line that would make, is a squiggly line. Now, if you put it on her nose as she's walking, you would get this straight line, right? Now, if let's say this line actually was a string, and if we stretch this string all the way out, it would be that long. And so what he had found was, it wasn't that the person was working harder, it was that they were traveling a further distance, right? So this was an extra 40 calories from the extra distance that was traveled, right? If you stretch that line out. So it was like another 40 calories burned from that extra distance of just the bouncing up and down. So why do I want you to understand that? Is I want you to understand that you don't have to go out and work hard for exercise. You don't have to go out and run and sprint and do all this HIIT exercise and all this strenuous stuff. You don't have to do that. The only thing that matters is that you move. Again, go back to the history of exercise. People did not do that 50 years ago. You go back and ask them about what they do for exercise, for weight control, they'd look at you like you're crazy, right? You agree with me on that? Can you see what I'm saying here? Does this make sense? Right? What I'm saying? I mean, only thing that you need to worry about is just getting more movement into your body. That's all you have to do. Right? So, let me go next slide here. So the American College of Sports Medicine, this is what they recommend, right? Oh, wait, I didn't change the slide. All right, American College of Sports Medicine, they recommend in order for someone who wants to lose weight, that they need 250 minutes a week of physical activity or 2,000 calories a week. Basically, what they're saying is, if you were to do 250 minutes in 1 week, you would burn an extra 2,000 calories. And that's all you would need to do in order to have weight loss in the long term. So what does that mean? Means that's where I came up with this plan. I call it the simple weight loss plan or the technology reversal method is what I really want to coin it. But basically, all you got to do is take that 250 minutes and split it up into 7 days, and you got 35 minutes a day. And then you split that up into 3 times a day. You got 12 minutes at a time. And what will that do for you? Well, back to the gradually over time. That'll be 2,000 calories a week. That'll be 8,000 calories a month. And we're back to 5,600 a month, which we got 2.3 pounds of fat. If we remember from the beginning, the 3,500 calories in a pound of fat, you got 2.3 pounds of fat in a month, 14 pounds in 6 months, or 27 pounds in a year. So basically, what we're saying here is you can lose up to 27 pounds in a year. Now you may be thinking, well, that's not very much. I want to burn more than that. Well, think about it like this. You weren't fat overnight. You're not going to lose all that fat overnight. So take the same gradual approach that you use to get fat as you're going to use to take it off, and it'll be sustainable and it'll be permanent. Because once you implement these things, they just become part of your life. The things I'm going to show you. Okay. So you might be thinking, well, that's too easy. It's too easy, just physical activity, 12 minutes a day. Doesn't make sense, right? Well, the reality is it is easy. It is easy. And a lot of these programs like to overcomplicate things and make you feel like you got to have a degree to know how to lose weight. In reality, look at this. You just seen the data. You just seen the history. You look at the history of human beings. What did we do 50 years ago? We didn't worry about nutrition. We didn't worry about diet and exercise. We just, as a society, we were not obese, and now we are. So if you just reverse that, then you get the results you want. Okay. And now another thing you might be wondering, right, is, well, what about nutrition? Right? Are you thinking about that? You thinking about, well, you thinking about nutrition? So here's the thing. During the same study, they determined the second cause of obesity had to do with nutrition, obviously, right? So what does that mean? What does that mean for nutrition? Well, the only thing they determined was the size of the food was different. That was it. The size of the food. We still had the same food that was around back then as we do now. The only thing is the size of it has grown substantially, right? We got the super sizes and everything, whereas before they didn't. I had a phone call with my dad just the other day about it, and I was asking him, because he was born in 1940, and I asked him, well, what was the food different back when you were a kid to the way it is now? And he said, nah. He said, now that I think about it, no, it wasn't. It was actually the same type of food. We still had hamburgers. We still had all the same sugary stuff. Nothing's really changed, except for when you go out, they have these options now that are just really enormous amounts of food. And just like when you buy a loaf of bread, the slices of bread are bigger than they were. And for some reason, as a society, we think we got to eat everything that we put on our plate, right? I know when I was a kid, that's what I was raised. There's starving kids in Africa. You can't leave that on your plate. You got to eat everything that's on your plate. No, you took that, you got to eat it. And it was just this big thing growing up. Like, you need to eat everything that's on your plate. And the reality is it's not the case. Okay. Stop eating everything that's on your plate. But anyway, that's it for nutrition. That's all you got to worry about. And if you actually wanted to boost the results you get, a little trick will be just to stop eating as much. So whatever you put on your plate, just only eat about 50 to 75% of what's on your plate. And that would give you an extra 100 to 200 calories. And you can almost double the results you're getting with the movement, which would be awesome, right? Imagine losing 30 pounds in 6 months instead of a year, right? So that would be my second tip for you. But again, the source of the problem is the movement. This is just a secondary thing. So do not focus on this, focus on the movement. Because we've seen the charts, remember? We've seen the charts. The charts tell you, they do not lie. The data does not lie. Don't try to, I know we want to believe it's nutrition. I know we want to believe it's the fatty foods that everyone's stuffing in their mouth. Stop it. Okay. You've seen the charts, you've seen the information, you know now the cause. So don't lie to yourself and don't try to focus on the wrong thing. So back to movement. So you might be thinking, well, that's great, Oliver. That movement thing sounds good, but I don't got time in my life to add 12 minutes of movement, even though we all know we do. But let's just say I don't have time. That's if I had time to do that, I'd be doing it now. The problem is I get off work, I'm exhausted. It's time to spend time with my family. I'm not trying to go to the gym. I'm not trying to do any type of exercise. And I just don't have the energy for it. So the cool thing is, it doesn't actually require you to spend any more time in your life, and it actually the opposite. It's actually quicker. So let me show you an example. So I was at the other day, I was at the hospital. That same, no, actually no, different hospital. I was at a hospital because my wife was given delivery to our little baby girl, and this is a 4-story hospital. And I was at the bottom, and I was getting ready to get on the elevator, and I seen this line of people at the elevator just waiting for the elevator. And there's 4 elevators. They're waiting for them to come. And I hop in the stairs. The door's right next to the elevator to go up the stairs. I go up the 4 levels. I get up and I walk off. And as I'm walking down the hallway, I hear the elevator doors open. I look back and I see it's the same people that were waiting on the bottom floor, got to the destination on the 4th floor, like almost a minute behind me. So I got there quicker than they did, and I got my movement in. So it's the exact opposite of what you might think. The other picture, like with parking far away, is another option you can do. And with the parking farther away, there's never anyone. You're the only person parking far away. But you see on the other screen, like everyone's fighting for that front row spot. So the funny thing is, I was at the mall the other day, and it was just like this picture. I parked far away, like I normally do. I just pulled in, parked, started walking. And as I was walking up, I seen the line of cars, people circling, waiting for that front row spot. And the whole time I'm walking up, those same people are circling and looking for a spot. I already got into the mall and they're still looking for a parking spot. And I just got to walk a quarter mile while they were circling around. And I got there quicker than they did. So it's really, I know it seems odd. It seems like, no, that can't be right, but it's the truth. I've been doing this for a long time. I actually spend less time by doing movement than if I didn't. And I'm getting my movement in. The other thing you might be wondering, well, first of all, isn't that cool? I mean, come on, how easy is that? Walking up the elevator, you can do that, right? You can park farther away. You don't no longer need to compete for that front row spot. You're competing to be fat. Instead, park far away, right? Easy stuff. So another thing I want to throw in there is it actually makes you more productive. Is Studies have shown that if you sit here and stare at a computer for hours on end, our brains stop to work as well, and we start to lose focus, and we can't concentrate. But if like every hour you were to just take a quick 10-minute stroll around the office and just get up and move around, do some jumping jacks, stretches, some push-ups or something like that, it actually boosts your productivity. Like you'll actually be doing you'll actually do better at work than if you weren't doing that, right? It's actually pretty cool. So not only are you getting your movement in, you're actually getting more out of your day in the office, even though you're taking these little strolls now or whatever you're going to be doing. Another thing in the military, what I've seen people like to do is like every hour on the hour, they'll drop down and do as many push-ups as they can. And that helps them to prepare for the PRT because they got to do push-ups. But I'll tell you what, that's a perfect thing of what you could do is just every hour drop down, do some push-ups, keep it going, right? So another thing, um, anyway, doesn't that sound like something you'd want to have? Like just boost your productivity at work? Wouldn't you like that? So the another thing that um you might like to know is you're thinking, well, that's great, but what if you're genetically fat? What if you're just a fat person? What if you're just I got a slow metabolism. I got polycystic ovaries or whatever it's called. I've got freaking a fatty liver, numerous medical issues, right? That people kind of kind of would claim that they have and could potentially be a problem with them in losing weight. So I had this same concern because I'd ran into people that were struggling with weight loss even despite their best efforts. So I got a hold of this doctor, Sandra Cabot. She's a leading expert in the field in Australia on weight loss. And so I interviewed her and we talked about this same topic. We talked about, are there issues that could be preventing people from losing weight? And obviously, she listed a number of them. And we went over each one in detail. But at the end of the interview, I put all the pieces together and I was like, interesting. So basically, what the epiphany that I had through the interview was putting on excess body fat is what's actually causing all of these medical issues in your body. And that once you bring your body down to healthy levels of body fat, all the other medical issues go away. So it's kind of weird. Like, I know you're trying to lose weight, right? But the source of your weight problem is your weight. It's some weird stuff. I know you're like, wait a minute, that's some weird stuff. That's like deep, but it's the truth. And if you lose all that body fat, your medical issues go away. Simple as that. Now, there's always this one person that's like, well, I'm genetically fat. So I asked her about that. I said, what about the people that everyone in their family's fat? You know, is there anything that they can do? And she said, of course, the same method of losing weight applies to anyone that's genetically fat. And believe it or not, she said that if you lose the fat, you lose the body fat, then you can technically reverse that gene. So that gene is reversible. You don't have to be fat. Now, you might not be a skinny person genetically. We're all built differently, but you can definitely still lose the body fat. Okay? So that covers the medical issues. Now, you may be thinking, well, that's great, Oliver. Well, first of all, isn't that cool that you don't have to worry about medical issues? I mean, I think that's cool. I thought that was amazing to know that, wow, I don't have to worry about the medical stuff. So it makes me happy. Now, don't get me wrong. There may be some people that are so far overweight, they might need a little extra boost to help them get get the ball rolling with the fat. And I have programs available for more advanced stuff if you need that. But either way, you need to implement this stuff, right? Now, moving on to another topic, which is, I think, going to be the most challenging. And that's going to be the peer pressure of society and technology. Because it seems like if you go against technology, if you decide to take the stairs instead of the elevator, that you are going to feel awkward. People are going to look at you funny. Why would you do that? They're not even going to understand what you're doing. This happened to me the other day. I was I was walking. We had to go from my office. We had to go like 3 blocks down the street to this other building for some training evolution. And when we were I just walked it, right? I just walked out of the building, walked there. And believe it or not, I got there before the guys that drove because they had to go find their car, get the parking spot, drive over there, find another parking spot, and then walk into the building. That whole time they did that, I'd actually gotten there before them. And anyway, they say, hey, man, I drove past. I seen you walking over here, man. Why didn't you tell me, bro? I had another seat in the car. You didn't have to walk. I was like, oh, no, no, man, don't worry about it, dude. It's cool. I don't mind walking. And he said, nah, man, look, on the way back, dude, I got you. Just hop in the car. I'll take you back. And I'm like, no, no, man, you know what? I actually want to walk, but I appreciate the offer. I remember this look in his face like, what do you mean you want to walk? Like, you don't have to walk, bro. I got a car. You don't have to walk. And so it was almost like it didn't compute. Um, like I just want to walk, dude. I just want to walk. And it's like it's okay if people go to the gym, walk on the treadmill for mind-numbing hours on the damn treadmill, but all of a sudden I want to walk across the street. That people look at me like I'm crazy. So I get it. There's going to be this stigma. There's going to be this thing that makes it difficult for you to do some of these things, right? And we got support group available for you there, so that you can be around people that are doing these things, that are gonna that you can communicate with, so that you have the support group of people that are doing the things you're doing, so you don't feel like you're the only one in the world that's trying to reverse technology and do physical movement, right? So that support group will help you. You can talk about your things that you experience and stuff like that. Now, just to give you an idea of, I like this story, that's why I brought it in here. The Greek island of Ikaria, and this old guy here, I don't remember his name, but if you want to look up the story, there's a New York Times article on him, the island where people forget to die. And he was basically, back during like World War II, he came to America because of an injury, and he got treated, but he ended up staying here like 20 years working, and finally he got diagnosed with cancer, and he was going to die. They gave him 6 months to live. Several doctors, like I think he went to like six doctors, and they all said he's going to die. So he talked to his wife, and he said, "Look, honey, I've only got 6 months to live, and I don't want you to waste our life insurance on a funeral. So let's go to Ikaria, where the funeral's only a couple $100." So they moved back to Ikaria, of his hometown. And interesting thing about Ikaria, you look at the picture, you can see it's an island and it's very hilly. They say that there's very few roads and everyone walks everywhere there. And they don't even really have fast food on that island, or like American food is what they call it, and stuff like that. But mostly they just walk like everywhere. And the thing is it was the norm there. Like everyone does it. It's not like you would feel weird if you're walking. Everyone's walking. There's no cars. He used to walk 5 miles in the evening to this little tavern where he'd play dominoes, and then he'd walk 5 miles home. In the evening, people would walk over to your house and socialize. In the day, he worked the vineyards there. You can see the grapevines, and he worked his garden. And so all this movement, and obviously he ate healthy as well, but he had his life was just all movement. There was basically no sedentary. They didn't watch TV in the evenings. And they say in one day you walk up and down about 20 hills. That's just how hilly the island is. So anyway, after 30 like years and years go by, the guy never dies of cancer. He's like 104 now. He got diagnosed with cancer back in like when he was 50. And he's still alive, still kicking, and he's doing good for a 100-year-old man, right? Anyway, he went back to America to see those same doctors that diagnosed him with cancer, and and what he found was all those doctors had already died. The doctor that had told him that he was going to die. So anyway, the point of that story was the peer pressure. In America, he would have kept being sedentary because that was what society did. But when he went to Ikaria, everyone moved around. And so that was the norm. And so you just felt comfortable doing that. So just get with it. You're going to need a community to help you so you feel comfortable doing these things. And we can share ideas with each other, right? So the last thing that I want to share with you, and if you've stuck around this far, you get this book for free. This isn't actually what it's going to look like. I've changed the design. I had this professional artist drawing all the pictures in it and everything. But anyway, it's 110 ways to get moving now. It's a small book you can carry along with you. Um, Basically, it's just give you countless ideas on the simple things you plug right into your life that make you more productive and do things quicker while getting movement in your life. And the last few pages of it are actually going to be blank, so you can write in your favorites or new ideas that you come up with as well. And it's free, 100% free. The only thing is you cover the shipping costs, so I'm already losing money on it. However, I don't mind to lose money on it because I feel like building a relationship with you and helping you is more important to me. There is a 100% money back guarantee on the shipping cost. So if you just decide, hey, um, I don't, I didn't think it was valuable, I'll refund your shipping. You can keep the book. The Facebook community, when you do go to get the book, there will be an option to get the Facebook community as well if you want it. And in there is where we'll actually be sharing ideas that we come up with as a group. different types of ideas people are using, and you can continually add and add to your reservoir of ideas to get moving now from other people. So, doing all these things, remember we started the story, I was 30 pounds overweight. Well, now, after implementing the stuff that I teach you, as well as some other things that I do extra, I lost 30 pounds and I finally started gaining muscle again the right way. And so you can transform your body. You can achieve the body of your dreams if you do these simple things that I want you to do. Now, the cool thing is, not only will you be able to transform your body and finally get the goals that you want to have, you're going to be able to transform your mind. You're going to be able to see things differently. You're going to be more productive. You're going to reverse the effects of technology permanently. So that way that you'll be able to finally, start achieving your weight loss dreams and keep it off permanently, because by you attacking the source of the weight loss problem, you are you're not treating the symptoms. I mean, you're doing a long-term effect. Now, doesn't that sound cool? Doesn't that sound simple? You just plug these little things into your life and you'll start losing weight. I don't think there's going to be a simpler weight loss plan on the market than this, and more effective than this. Now, can you imagine what your life will be like once you finally start losing the weight and you see the weight coming off and you realize you didn't have to cut all the food you love out of your diet? You didn't have to spend mind-numbing hours on the treadmill and all this other stuff, that you could easily just make these little tiny changes to your life and start losing weight. I mean, didn't you always suspect that it would be that easy? I mean, didn't it always seem weird that weight loss was so complicated? Maybe that's why we've always looked for this simple method, this simple pill, because it just didn't make sense. Why is it so complicated? Because it's not in our genetics to have to worry about this. 100 years ago, human beings didn't have this problem. Look at the history, look at the data, and you see for yourself, the cause of the obesity epidemic is your lack of movement. All you're doing is putting that movement back in your life, and you're losing the weight, and you're getting back down to a healthy level. Look, thanks for joining me on this webinar. I hope you found it useful, and I hope to see you in the Facebook community, and I hope you get your copy of the free book. Just click the link below this video, and you'll get your free book in the mail. And that's all I got for you. So look, take care. And again, I wish you the best of luck. Bye.